And it's that time of year when our TVs are infested with sharks.
Yes, now it is understandable that maybe you'd be leery after watching Jaws, Open Water, maybe even Sharknado.
Great movie.
But in truth, you might just be reacting to Hollywood's version of this unique fish.
So we talked to a shark scientist and one of the stars of a new documentary on Nat Geo's Shark Fest about shark myths. And that's our featured story at the top of the list.
That sound is synonymous with sharks, and for almost 50 years it's had us looking for a bigger boat. But it turns out most of what we know about these creatures just isn't true.
Because when you look past the jaws, you should see an animal that is truly graceful, beautiful, ferocious, and it has just as much of a place on this planet as we do.
Gibbs Kuguru is a Kenyan shark scientist who's been working with these fish and studying their DNA for the last 10 years. He's helping us skip the cage dive to learn about some shark myths. First, sharks are man-eaters.
Something I encounter more often than not is after I tell people I work with sharks, they're like, isn't that dangerous? Don't they eat people? And this is hardly true. Most sharks have a very specialized diet, specifically great whites.
A shark's diet has evolved over millions of years, well before humans existed, so Gibbs says we're not really a preferred meal.
And more often than not, when a shark actually does encounter a human and they are interested, they usually just give a test bite.
And if you do encounter a shark, the movies have once again misled us by teaching us what not to do.
Running away. This is something that their prey will often do, so it'll trigger that response. And we just say, just keep calm, maintain eye contact, and actually enjoy the fact that you have a big shark swimming around you, because this is not something that a lot of people get to do.
The next myth, sharks are apex predators.
We define an apex predator as a predator that doesn't have any natural predators of their own, but it's come to light that killer whales or orcas also predate on great white sharks, and they are a natural predator for sharks.
The third myth, sharks aren't smart.
These sharks actually have a social capacity to identify threats so they can learn, and then they can teach other sharks about these threats in their environment as well, so they can all together avoid them.
And this final myth is one that Gibbs just discovered as part of his work on a new National Geographic documentary, Camo Sharks. Sharks can't change colors.
I've been working in the cage diving industry for about 6 years, and every now and then you would hear someone go, hey, that shark just went from dark to light, and I'm like, I didn't see that happen. So then we ended up just testing it, and then it actually worked. There's very strong evidence that points to these sharks being able to change color in real time.
They believe the reaction is due to situations where sharks get startled or frightened, and they go pale to match their environment.
So these white sharks take on this muted color that's similar to the coral reefs around them.
You can learn even more about sharks by watching Shark Fest or catch Camo Sharks on Nat Geo Wild or Disney XD.
Get information about what these animals are really like, and I hope it changes your mind.
Busting myths about sharks is at the top of the list.